Do you guys ever buy every color of Sharpie because you think it'll make you happy? It's not gonna make you happy. Where are you gonna put it on? It's permanent. Can't take that sort of pressure.
Moss.
Moss. Moss. Moss. Moss. Moss.
And little ferns.
Moss. Moss.
Moss.
Moss.
Moss. Moss. Moss. Moss. Moss.
Moss.
Moss. Moss.
Hello, okay, so I live in the Pacific Northwest where everything is covered in moss. My roof is covered in moss. It's destroying my roof. My house is leaking. It's pretty bad. But moss is amazing because it's absolutely complex, and I've been obsessed with it from a CG standpoint because it's so procedural. It's like, it seems so basic. It's just
Moss.
that grows on the top of things usually in like certain patterns, but at the same time, it is so complex. Look at all this just moss stuff happening. And the closer you look, it's just this infinite moss fractal. And so it's like, all right, you're trying to do that in CG. Do you model all these pointy bits? No, that would be ludicrous. Or do you? Or do you do image textures? So anything that works for like a small scale thing doesn't work for a large scale thing. And before I lose your attention, I want to show you something very quick. Do you guys know the Blender has a built-in scatter add-on? Because I did not know this. You go Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, type in Scatter, and make sure Scatter Objects is checked. And then if you think you're going to be using it a lot, go Save Preferences, so it'll always be there. And you just select what you want to scatter, and then you shift-click on whatever you want to scatter it onto, and that's just to make it the active object. You can see it's outlined in yellow. That means it's the active object. Hit F3, type in Scatter. You can also make it a hotkey if you want. And then, oh, you just doodle. Look at this, and it's making the particles. This is the funnest thing ever. And under the tool settings here, you can change like the radius and the density and the scale and all of that. And so then let's just hit enter, enter, and see. Okay, those were too small. I don't care. We'll do it again. We'll just add more randomness. Alright, so here we go here. Just getting a nice clump. Where's my tools? Oh, object scatter, yes. Turn up the scale. Enter. That's looking better here. Let's get more of these green ones. Scatter. A big chunk of green. Let's see, can we set the scale even larger? Let's do 2. Oh, yeah, that does work. Enter. Alright, and let's see what it looks like rendered. Oh, we're in Eevee, which is cool, but let's jump into cycles. Quick weird note about scatter though. If you, once you do the scatter, it will create this new object here at the origin. I think it's always at the origin. And if you move it, it moves all of the cubes. And if you move the cubes, it moves it. And if you try to move it to a new layer, hide me. Boop. It hides all of them, which means you're kind of just stuck with this at the origin, which means it's also hard to animate because it's dragging that around. I don't exactly know what to do about that, except you can hit Control-A, make instances real, and I would suggest then joining them all back into the same object. Here, let's grab one of these. No, yeah, there we go. Whoa, and deleting all of these, I guess, just so that you can actually delete it. But yeah, making instances real is a good thing to be able to do with this, and it also lets you like tweak individual pieces. Here, let's go before I join them all. So you can just, move individual ones that you might not like. But yeah, that's weird. I don't exactly know why that's a thing. It's just a byproduct of the way they got it to work, I suppose. But okay, so this is the easiest moss. It doesn't look good. This is the bad moss, but scatter is very cool. And if you use scatter with some of the other stuff, it works even better. Other stuff? Yes. Okay. So this is Eevee. The first thing I have to tell you is this stuff can get pretty intensive. It works good for close, scale stuff. This type of look wouldn't work great on a large scene just because moss is so complex. It also works in cycles. Looks about the same, and this is just a mix of using the scatter add-on and some particle systems, and I'm gonna walk you through all of that here. Let me jump over. So I have just been scanning and gathering all of these different assets right here, And these are just bits I found around my yard.
Moss, moss, moss. Moss, 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 moss. Hey, everybody loves the moss. Look at this guy, he's a good guy. He loves the moss. Everybody loves the moss.
Photo scanned him. Photo scanning does not like moss because photo scanning expects the surface to be flat, and moss is infinite complexity all the way down, and so it's kind of gives you a blob, and it's like,
Is this what you like?
and I say,
No, sir, this looks like a weird green brain.
and it says,
Look, man, you are asking me to do some weird things.
oh, check this out. This is called a pixie cup lichen, which I think is absolutely adorable. It's one of those things that I first noticed like a couple years ago, and now it's everywhere. I like them. They're just bizarre. But yeah, I grabbed all these different types of moss with different silhouettes and things, and they're all kind of good for different things. Have this hanging moss, have some little lichen from a tree, which I'm also like, you know, it can be moss if you like. But yeah, this works really good for lichen. This is some other like beefy lichen. I should learn more about plants. And this is, because these are all very solid, if you combine one of these with this poof right here, this is what gives that feathery look up here, because it's a bunch of translucent layers of moss stuff. But yeah, here's the hanging bits, here's some of the lichen, here's some of the other things, and I would just go through and I would just select it. Here, let me show you. Right, so you select it, shift click, F3, scatter. You can also make that a hotkey if you want, and you just start laying it down. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Here, let's get even wilder. I want to just kind of build some nice positive negative space here. Cool. And here, let's grab this one. It's got just a nice kind of silhouette going on. Scatter. And I'm just going to outline the edges a little bit. Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's throw in some of that one. Uh-oh. Oops, hit the wrong order of keys. F3. Scatter. Yeah, just mixing it up, because moss loves to live together. You can get a bunch of different types of moss all kind of just hanging out. Ooh, I like these ones. Let's see what happens if we do that one really big. And under the tool settings here, I'm going to turn down the density and turn the scale up to like 2. And what's that? Ooh. Oh, that's bulbous. I like it. Like it? How about lichen? I had to do it at least once. Alright, turn up the density. How's that? Oh, that's looking okay. Yeah, let's throw some of these hanging moss in there. I'm not going to do this one as a particle system. I'm just going to slip it on in. So can you imagine? Alright, you build your sci-fi thing, you know? Because a lot of you guys are into the cyberpunk stuff and the sci-fi stuff, which is cool. I am too, but imagine covering like a vending machine with moss and it's in the middle of a forest or something like that. Suddenly, you're not generic cyberpunk anymore. Because look, let's be honest, cyberpunk is we're kind of at peak cyberpunk saturation. Neon and all that, cover the neon with some moss. Yeah. I'm a little manic right now, not because I'm actually manic, but because I'm very sleepy. So I'm pushing so hard, because otherwise I shut down. No, I had to drive Caitlin to the doctor the other day, but that meant I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and I was still laying awake at like 5:15 a.m. Like, uh-oh. So, oh, here, let's grab our yellow lichen here and F3 scatter, and let's just fill in some of these spaces. See what happens here. Ooh, it looks, it's fine. It's fine. Alright, and let's see what it looks like with the sunshine. Do I have 2 suns? Oh, how naughty. It's grotesque. It's an abomination. Let's do more. If I ever make a joke and you guys are like, Ian, you are trying too hard, just remember, I'm trying too hard for you. Alright, appending in, I'm all hot and bothered over that, vending machine idea. So here, where is it? Moss project, yes. Collection, moss assets. We got moss. I'll have these organized by the time I upload them to you guys here, because what is this? All right, so let's try starting with this one. F3, scatter, painting them on. I'm gonna, here, let's see. I'm gonna turn down rotation so that they're all, otherwise it'll be rotated at weird angles. We don't want that. Turn down the radius, and let's just kind of paint some around in little clusters. I enjoy this process a lot. Oh, that was smaller than I meant, but maybe that still looks okay. Here, let's do some of these big brain ones. I liked how that looked last time, even if it was maybe a little bit over the top. Turn up the scale. Let's see how that looks. Oh, oh, that's some nice thick moss. Let's do a few more of those. Down here. I might turn down the scale of this one just a little, just so it isn't too overpowering. All right. Mixing it up. Let's do more of these weird guys. I like being able to frame in some moss with other moss, kind of as if it's like a boundary. A boundary? I don't know what I'm saying. Some lichen? This moss is a little big, isn't it? I'm just gonna scale it down, kind of tuck it over here. Cool. All right, and this lichen, oh yes. It's wherever. Scale it down. All right. Is that like the 70th time I've said all right in that exact same tone? Gotta shake it up, Ian. All right. Let's try some of this soft, fuzzy moss. And I'm just gonna let myself add a bunch of that because it's really what makes stuff feel mossy. Have I said the word moss 27 billion times? Absolutely I have. All right, scale. What's this do? Ooh, all right. Oh, that's a dirty television. Let's see what it looks like in cycles. I'm gonna save it first. Mossy TV. That's one moss-encrusted TV. So these guys are still a little bit, they're maybe too poofy. So one thing we can do, if we want to delete certain ones, is we can hit Control-A, make instances real, and that just makes them all their own object. Are they still linked if we tab in? Yes, good, okay. One of the reasons this isn't super crashing the computer is because they're all instances of the same object, which means the computer only has to hold one moss ball in its head, and it's like, okay, that one moss ball is just all these different coordinates. It isn't like, oh, all the geometry, it's so overwhelming. And so that's a nice way to be able to optimize when you're done. Is there? Ooh, yeah. Oh, let's put this hanging one in there too. I want to hang it off the front. Hopefully it gets a little bit backlit by the TV and looks cool. Let's scale this one. Yeah. How does that look? Oh, that's... You guys, I'm sorry sometimes I'm inordinately pleased with how things turn out. Caitlin says it's a little off-putting. I'm like, yeah, but that's why I got into this, because it's so fun. Make a mossy TV. Okay. So we have our mossy TV. Let's build a mossy environment. So the first time I did this environment was last night, and as an experiment, as I was working on the moss, it turned out really good. Second time I did it, and it turned out even better, but I wasn't recording. So the third time I just did it, except it turned out not as good as the other two times, which I found so frustrating that now we're doing it a fourth time, and I'm gonna try something completely different. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna make it. Let's do a square composition here, 1080 by 1080. We might tweak this here, and I don't know what scale I'm working at, but let's just start laying stuff in with some planes here. So I want to have kind of a little space protruding out. I want to have a little TV kind of sitting on a island, or like a little isthmus, or I don't know words. So I'm just trying to kind of sculpt it right now. And then we'll figure out how to make it work. So this will be the bank. This will be kind of the edge of the water. Yeah, maybe I should leave it kind of like a sharp overhang. That could be good. Again, haven't really tried this before. Let's try building some big rocks. Bevel. Oh, here I'll turn on screencast keys. Not that I'm doing anything all that wild. Okay, let's get another one. And I'm just gonna try to cover everything with a bunch of moss. Let's do a kind of a slanted one. I could turn on snap to face, and that might kind of help me a tad here. First time I did it with physics, and we made a whole big physics thing, and it was kind of okay, but it was just too. I don't know. Honestly, it was working pretty good. Like, I walked away from it and was like, this isn't working at all, and I came back and I looked at it and I was like, oh wait, no, this is fine. Sometimes I get wrapped up in like the potential of like how I think something could look, and I don't notice that what I actually have is actually pretty darn fine. Okay, let's stick also. Should I just fill this in? This will be a face. That'll be a face. This will be a face. Extrude that out. That'll be a face. This is probably not the cleanest way to do this. Alright, so that'll be water. We'll have some rocks down there in the water. Turn off snapping. Let's take a look. Where are we at here? It's kind of interesting. Here, let's scoot all of these over. Cool. And we'll add our water plane. And you know what else we're going to do? We're going to save our file before the whole thing crashes. I saved it. And we're going to make sure it's recording. You'd think I would have learned that lesson by now, but you would be just mostly wrong in most situations. Okay. These feel kind of like rocks. Alright. So, let's just start by making this glossy. We're going to make it like water. Not that dark. Wait, crazy? How are we looking? Wow. It's beautiful. I'm going to make the environment be an HDRI. Let's just get to the good stuff. Load in Burke-Gilman Trail. If you haven't played around with HDRIs, they are an incredible way to just load in basically a light sample. They work better in cycles than in Eevee. If we go into cycles here. Look at that. See, it's just lighting from every direction. It's very natural. It's great. Here, let's set this like 1.4. And I'm going to turn this into a sun because I like my moss reacting with sun. Sun should be... Keep sun bright, man. It's the sun. You've seen it. It's bright. Yeah, that's looking okay. Here, let's turn on denoising. GPU denoising. Yeah, that's much better. All right, back to solid view here. I think I want to squish some of these rocks down. This is one of my favorite parts, just because this is the part that feels most like kind of doodling, you know? And you're like, I'm just drawing shapes, and you get to experiment with stuff. Mostly I'm just stalling because I'm afraid of what will happen. Why did I even make this the bottom of this ground here? That's weird. Because it's gonna have moss all over it. That's gonna be bizarre. Alright. Now that we've got this, let's try loading in our moss. Append moss assets. Great. If you don't know how to append, you know how to append, right? You go to your Moss project, you go to collection, and you just grab Moss assets and append it, and it'll just drag them all right here. Delete these guys. Okay, so we're going to do this with a proper particle system. And one thing that's annoying is the, what's it called? Scatter expects the objects to be oriented so that up is up, because up is up. But the Blender particle system expects your objects to be oriented like this, facing the top of the screen when you're looking down. Which is very bizarre because that doesn't make any sense. Also, these all look like chocolate chip no-bake like oatmeal cookies, and now I really want some. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do this right from the get-go here, and I'm gonna grab all of these and rotate, whoop, 90 degrees. You can see up here. Control A, apply rotation, and now this is just how they are, which is cool. Let's throw a sub division thing on there. Is that gonna make it too? I think I might actually like it kind of blocky like this. Let's go shade smooth, and under the data properties, normals, we'll check auto smooth, so some edges will be sharp and some will be soft. Like, let's maybe soften up even more. Yeah, that feels like rocks. Now I'm nervous, but let's just try throwing the moss on here. Create a new particle system. Boop. We'll call this base moss. Yeah. We're going to have it render as a collection, and we get to pick our collection, but we haven't made a collection yet. So let's make a special collection just of the moss we want to use. So let's scope this out real quick. This is what we have at our disposal. I kind of like, I like a lot of these, but let us try the friendly moss. And so the part of the moss that's going to be sitting on the rock geometry is the origin. And so I might actually scooch this down so it's a little bit more situated on the rock, because it has this kind of like crusty ridge around the edge, this crusty edge. And I don't want to see that quite as much. So I'm going to hit M, make a new collection. We're going to call this the moss that we are using. Cool. And so now you can see over here, we've got our new thing with our friendly moss in there. And if I go into this particle system and pick that, we will have nothing, because it's set up to rain 1,000 friendly mosses from below, which is not what we want. So I'm going to save. I'm going to click hair, and now there they are. They're all sitting there like a weird Dalmatian. That's excellent. That's what we want. I'm going to turn the scale up. I'm going to set this to like 20,000, and that looks pretty bad, which is cool. We're fine with that. If I shrink this down, why is it dark on the rocks but lighter everywhere else? Is it weird? Maybe the rocks have inverted normals. So I'm going to select everything, hit Shift N, recalculate the normals, and now it's the ground that's backwards. All right, so I'll select this and hit Shift N, recalculate normals inside, and now everything is good except that it looks bad. But that's okay. Here, I'm going to go under source and change jittered to random, which gives us a better distribution here. And actually I expected it to look worse than that. We'll scale it up. Maybe turn this down. First, what happens if we do just like very few mosses but very big? We are getting a lot of like repeating stuff here. So let's check advanced, go to rotation, and turn up the phase and the phase randomness. And so now it is all, there we go, that breaks up that feeling. First thing, I want the moss to only appear on the tops of the rocks. So I'm gonna turn off the visibility for this particle system. And let's see, I think, I'm so tempted to add a bunch more rocks, but I think this will be good. I'm gonna make a cube here. I'm gonna select the top face, and I'm gonna hit Shift G to pull up the select similar menu. Let's select normal, and now every face pointing straight up is selected, but we can turn up the threshold, so let's just keep that going until we have, yeah, a couple of every rock is selected. Cool. We'll assign all of these to a vertex group. New vertex group, and we'll call this the tops. And we'll assign all of these selected faces to that. Assign. And now, if we go back to our particle settings, under vertex group, we can go density, the tops. And ideally, now only the tops of the rocks have the... You can see from the cube, it also happens to do stuff that's like congruent with it or something like that. And so it's also getting a lot of the sides of the rocks, but that's okay. And I think that also means we only need like half as many of these guys. But it's still looking a little bit too dense. And so let's apply another randomness on top of this. We're going to apply like a noise texture over the top. So down here, under textures, I'm going to click new, and we'll call this the texture. Yeah, and now because the Blender interface is not always the most intuitive, we will click on the texture properties here, and we've got our the texture. We'll change it. Let's change it to Musgrave, and eventually, where it's white is going to be where there's moss, and where it's black there isn't going to be moss. But we have to tell it what to influence. So let's say density, and most importantly, hair length. Interesting. Okay, yeah. And so now we can go under colors and change the brightness, and it will affect where the moss is. You can see the moss gets big really fast. So I'm going to turn down the contrast and see if that kind of makes it a little bit smoother. Huh. Interesting. Here, let me try changing the size a little bit here. Ah, that's fun. That's actually kind of fun to play with. Turn the contrast back up. Huh. Wow, that size is really big. Okay, gonna go more. Yeah, there. Whoa, whoa. Huh. Sorry, having some trouble dialing this in. This seems a-okay, right? I kind of wish the hair length were being affected more. Maybe I'll just have it affect the hair length and density, but less. Okay, let's see how this looks rendered. Huh, that's looking pretty nice. This bit looks a little bit weird. I think it's possible I might have these moss things set a little too large. So let's try turning them back down and increasing the number instead. Remember, we can get a bunch of these before things start looking too weird. Ooh, okay. That's looking all right. Here, let's add a material to this that we like. So I'm going to go new. We'll call this rock. Create an image texture. And let's open some rock. Yeah. If I select all this, hit in edit mode, hit a U, cube projection. Let's see what. Oh, that's looking okay. I should probably pick like a smoother river rock instead of this like big granite boulder. But here, let's give the texture a little bit of love. First, in the UV editor, I'm gonna scale it up a bit. Cool. And then under the shader editor, let's turn off the visibility here so we can see what we're doing, because right now this does not look great, and we can help that out. I'm gonna plug this this image texture. Let's make it do a lot of the legwork. Let's drag that into roughness, and that's pretty good. We'll drag the specular way down, bring it down into the normal. We'll use it as a bump map. So we have to add a vector bump, drag this into the height, bring the distance way down, tweak it with the strength, and that's better. Oh, okay. Let's turn our other moss back on, and I'm liking that. Liking that. You know what we got to do now? Sorry. Let's select these guys here. Shift click on this, hit F3, scatter, and just start dragging them around in here. You can fill up some of these empty rock bits. I'm gonna go under the tool settings, turn down the radius, keep it localized, turn up the amount, maybe? We'll see. I might undo this and apply it again, but let's really fill in that area. And enter. How are we looking? That's okay. Kind of weird though, actually. Oh, it's because I had the rotation up, which means it's rotating it just randomly too. All right. Well, now we know. So F3, scatter, turn that rotation down because that's annoying. The density looked okay. I guess I'll turn it up. Got to make the laser sounds. Enter. Okay. Let's see how that looks rendered. Yeah, it's fine. I don't think the lichen's really adding anything, but it's not detracting too much either. Honestly, I think this is looking a little bit too uniform, so I'm gonna try. Let's grab another moss and add it to. Let's grab this big green ball. I like this one. So M, the moss that we are using, and let's see what happens here. Ooh, that's very friendly. I'm gonna just shrink it down. See what happens. It's kind of nice. It's kind of friendly. I think maybe it might be a little bit too blob-like to really be helping. Maybe, I guess I can... Here, we'll squish it like this and make it a little wider so it's just a little flatter, and maybe that will be good? Kind of makes it blend. Let's try throwing another piece of moss in there too. Let's see, maybe one of the yellow ones. Yeah, that one. All right, M, the moss that we are using. How's that looking? This part really is very lumpy. Let's try just overall increasing the size of the particles. Oh, 0.2. Okay. Yeah, I like this. All right, so we're gonna use this exact same data here to power the fuzzy one, because the fuzzy one's really, for me, what makes it look like moss. So I'm gonna create a new particle system here. Oh, it's giving us our weird dots. We're gonna load in our base moss, but click this to make it its own version. We'll call this one fuzzy. So now we gotta grab our fuzzy guy right here, and we'll hit M, new collection, fuzzy. Okay. Hop over here, and under render collection, we change this to fuzzy. And how's that? Wow, it's very big. Okay, so first thing, we're seeing a bunch of different stuff. We do not have enough transparency layers, so we're getting this black bit in the moss because it's so big. It's you have to see through too many layers, and the light paths eventually just give up. So I'm going to turn up transparency here. Ooh, that's nice. And we're also going to turn the size way up. Whoa, and now the computer's chugging. So I'm going to try turning this back down again to like 0.1, because I just barely want it poking out of the rocks here. And that's looking okay. Here, let's add a little bit of randomness too. I think this is going to really like sell it, because you can see it just adds that softness around everything that really makes it feel like moss, but it just does take a long time to render. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to optimize this a little bit. Like, we can't see any of this in the scene, so I'm just going to delete it. It's looking okay. This bit doesn't look great down here. I like this background, but I'm wondering how we give this bit a little bit more love. I think let's just hand place some of this other moss. Here, I'll turn this off so we actually have some frame rate. In fact, maybe I'll turn off both of them. Okay, here's our moss. Let's grab this guy. Yeah. And duplicate it. I don't think, is that one currently in the moss that we're using? No, good. Because I have to rotate it back to point upright so that we can use the scatter tool on it. Okay, so with that selected, this selected, F3, scatter. Wow, I really do just go straight to that sound, don't I? Turn up the scale, turn down the density, turn up the radius, and let's see what that does. Oh, wait. Alright, I forgot I have to apply the rotation. Apply rotation, this, that, F3, scatter, doodle, yes. Is that the same moss that I already used for every... No, that was a friendly moss. Okay, so let's see how this works. That's looking... I actually like that. That's nice and soft. I think we could probably add a little bit more detail with something else, but that'll work. Maybe we'll put like some of these guys down here near the riverbank. All right, so I wish we had some lily pads or something like that here. We'll make this a little bit more. Oh, actually.
Lily, 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 lily pad, lily pad. Lily, 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 lily pad. Lily, lily pad.
I remember my dad used to take me down to the old pond, show me the lily pads, where his dad used to take him down to the old pond and show him the lily pads, where his dad used to take him down.
Okay, and normally I would take the pictures of the lily pads myself because I know I have some down the street, but it's nighttime and I'm in the middle of making this video, and so thank you to Powell Bukowski on Unsplash. So we've got our lily pads here. Let's select the water, F3, scatter. Let's just see how this goes. Turn up the radius. Yeah. Turn up the randomness of the scale. What's that gonna look like? Ha! That's cute. Okay. Should we bring in our TV? File, append. Okay, there we go. Let's stick it right here. And actually, let's see if we can make the, let's tweak the ground to kind of match the shape of that it's leaning at. Can we do this? Is that going to be weird? Oh, the moss doesn't follow it. Of course it doesn't. Okay, no, we'll just keep it. We'll just keep it like that. Let's see how this renders if we turn everything back on. All right, it looks okay. I do say some of you, if you're rendering this on a laptop, will have some trouble. This moss is not really designed for big scenes like this. I'm just kind of having fun. All right, interruption from 4:30 a.m. Brain Dead Future Ian. From this point on, I just kind of start reworking it, and it starts getting a little bit worse. And so I trimmed out a lot of the dead air and things, and like the waiting for stuff to render, just because it wasn't particularly worth it. So you can keep watching, or you can kind of jump to the end, where basically I realize I've gone too far, and I delete all of it, and I come back to effectively where we're at right now with like a little bit of finalization. Just felt like throwing that out there. So one issue right now is that the fuzzy moss can barely stick up through this other moss. And so I'm going to tweak the original sprite here. And I am going to raise it up a little bit. You can see just by raising it up on the y-axis, it's poking up through everything else. So now I can get it more like that. Yeah. Now hopefully I can turn down the size of that a bunch, and he'll still be around. Do I have the right one selected? Yeah. Okay, I'm liking this. I might really crank the fuzzy stuff down here before I hit render, but first I think I actually want to mix up the variety of moss. So I'm going to, let's turn off this so it doesn't bog things down. Boop. And one thing I did, I made the main moss a little bit smaller, because right, it just looked better to me. But I do want to, here, let's go into material view. I do want to tweak this and just make more negative space. So Let's both change the scale here. Yeah, and just maybe darken it up even more, or well, this gives us some good negative space, I think. Let's see, is this guy in the moss that we're using? Yes, it is, but we're not using this one. So let's grab a bunch of this. Gonna rotate it so it's aiming up. Apply rotation. Select our ground here. F3. Scatter. And let's just fill in this zone a little bit. Oh, great. We'll turn down our radius. Turn down the randomness. Turn down the scale. And maybe turn up the density. We'll just see how this looks. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's keep going with that. What else do we got here? Should grab the green ball. Oh, that's right. I kind of squished it a little bit, didn't I? Which one's this one? I don't think we've used this one yet. Let's grab that. Apply rotation. Oh. Apply rotation. Shift click on this. Gotta grab just a clean rock bit. F3. Scatter. Alright. Hey, that's looking pretty good, and that gives us some more variety. I like that. And let's add some more of this hanging stuff around. Alright, let's take a look. Let's add some haze. Yes. Alright, solid. I'm just gonna add a lazy haze, a quick rendering haze. Gonna put our big cube here. And give it a new material. Haze, and over here we'll delete this. Shader, emission. Let's apply the scale of this thing, just in case that affects anything. Change the strength to like 0.05, that's still probably going to be really bright. Make it a little warm? It's probably very warm. Let's take a look at what we got. Yeah, it's quite a bit. Let's try blue. Back a little yellowish again. I think 0.05. Oh yeah, just nice and subtle. Let's add some musgrave to this water just to make it feel a little bit warbly. So I'm gonna go texture, musgrave. I should really gotta turn off. My computer's like, no. Turn off this here. Yeah, here we'll turn off all of that. There we go. Alright, so grab the water, plug the height into the normal map, stick in a bump map in between. Hey, there's some waves. Turn the distance way down. Turn the scale up. Someday I'm actually gonna go out and measure how big waves are. Turn up the detail. Ooh. Like the average wave, I assume it's actually like there is a standard of like what water will do, and I can set that to be an actual measure instead of just like eyeballing it every single time. Okay, turn the strength way down. And I guess ideally I should turn the roughness all the way down, but I actually like it a little rough. It's not realistic. I just like it. Okay, so this was maybe a little bit too ambitious of a demo. I probably should have just the TV was a nice showcase. Be like, look, you just scribble the moss on the thing, not like we're gonna use 10 bazillion particles, but we did, and now we have a nice little render. So I want to add more lily pads, man. And if you learned nothing else, maybe you learned how great the scatter add-on is, because I am very jazzed about that. Oh, now they intersect. You can fix that. Control A, make instances real, and then you just delete the problem ones. Or slide them over to somewhere where they're less problematic. Alright, let me do a final render. Okay, so I kept tweaking it and adding little stuff. I had a little like ledge right here, so where it kind of met the water, and tweaked everything. And you know what? It's fine. there was a point there where it was looking like really friendly and lush, and I don't know, I guess just kind of a little again, I don't want to say Ghibli, but Ghibli. And this is just got too many kind of textures going on. Okay, so I didn't like having render, I didn't like, so I went back, spent a little bit more time on it, and here we go. And it just feels a little bit more lush. I got rid of a bunch of the distracting stuff. I let the floofy grass carry a little bit more of the weight. And I created another texture that only powered the hair length of the moss, and that resulted in these cool little clumps like this. So it didn't look quite as uniform on top of everything. So there's still a bunch I don't like this whole area. Like what's going on? What is that? That's not moss, and like this stuff here is kind of weird. But it feels more like what I wanted, which you enter into this nice big soft mossy space. So with that, I am going to try to upload some stuff. Yeah, all right. Hope I know it's a pretty hefty asset, and again, it's better for small scale stuff, or like if you had a photo scan of a stump or something like that, and you want to kind of just deck it out, add some life, would work great for that. Doing a big scene like this, probably hard unless if you have a whole bunch of RAM or something like that. I don't know what you need, but yeah, hopefully this is useful in some capacity. All right, I will talk to you guys later.